Okay, who all have we got here? We got Carolyn, Ann, Paul, Jeff Thomas, Amy Wortman, John Bell, Kelly. I believe we are all here. Okay, it is right at 7:01 on May 29th, Memorial Day. We will call this meeting to order. I have present Paul Yingling, Kelly Hunter, John Bell, David Douglas, and we have a number of guests joining us this evening, including our recording secretary, Carolyn Bowers, our trustee representative, Nick Donzello, and Ash has joined us, Jeff Thomas and Amy Wortman. So, has everybody had a chance to, first of all, thanks to everybody for having this meeting on Memorial Day. I hope that it won't cause a problem for anybody's Memorial Day activities. I didn't realize at the time that we set our meeting that this was Memorial Day. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda for this evening? And do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections? None. I would like to make one change. We have the volunteer application for Lisa Huizinga under new business, which is toward the end of our agenda. And I really would like to take action earlier on the vote and have Lisa speak to us for just a minute if she wants to. So could we move that? Everybody accept that's acceptable to everybody to move item 6A up to we'll call it old business because this is kind of old business. We've been trying to fill this position for a while, so we'll make that 5A and just go ahead and get going with that. So in our agenda packet, by the way, am I sharing and can everybody see the agenda and the agenda packet on your screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's scroll down to okay, here we go. We have Lisa Huizinga's application was it submitted as part of the packet. And first of all, let me we need to vote on the agenda before we start this. Is everybody, do I have a motion to accept the agenda with the change of moving item 6A to item 5A?
Move we accept.
Kelly moved. Do I have a second?
Paul second.
Paul second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, so the agenda has been officially changed. Okay, so we're looking at Lisa Huizinga's application, volunteer application to join the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee of Green Mountain Falls. I have known Lisa personally for a number of years. She is a longtime resident of Green Mountain Falls. I think pretty well known in the town as a person who gets involved, and she has an Airbnb that is across the street from her house, very nice, and we've actually had people stay there. She's been a volunteer in Greenbox in the past for the pie making, and I think she did pot pies last year, if I'm not mistaken. and apple pies in the year before that, which I've participated in. Lisa is, I think would be a great addition, so I heartily recommend Lisa. Does anyone have any questions? Or Lisa, would you like to make any comment?
Lisa, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just excited about the work that this committee does, and I just want to be a good neighbor and a good citizen and help where I can. So it sounds like there's a lot of work to do. So yeah, and if you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I'm kind of a retired occupational therapist, so in that line of work, I've been an educator, and that might fit in well with the work that you have going on. So, yeah.
Thanks, Lisa.
Welcome aboard.
Yes. So I want to wholeheartedly support Lisa and let the committee know that Lisa's already jumped in. I had sent her a long list of videos. These are training videos from the Tri-Lakes Fire Ambassador Program, and Lisa's been digging in. And if that's not a sign of willingness and interest and energy, I don't know what is, because they're not all that interesting. And it is new information. So Lisa certainly gets my vote of approval.
Great. Thanks, John. Are there any questions from Kelly or Paul? And John, I think you
No, just grateful to have the extra help.
Great.
okay. Well, if there's not any question or further comment, I would like to recommend and make a motion that we accept Lisa's application to become a member of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, with the understanding that what we will be doing as a committee is voting to recommend Lisa to the Board of Trustees for final approval and acceptance to the committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Lisa, you are part of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee pending formal acceptance by the Board of Trustees of Green Mountain Falls.
Okay, thank
Glad
you.
to have. Glad to
Thank
have.
you. Awesome.
All right.
And David, I'd like to sort of make an extension of that, that we, as a provisional member, that we allow her to participate in this meeting as a member, so that she can comment and contribute as a member.
Yes, I agree with that. Do we need to make a motion to that effect?
As chairman, that's your call, but I
Okay, let's just make that official, that and I'll make the motion that as a provisional member subject to the Board of Trustees approval, that in tonight's meeting, Lisa will be considered a fully involved provisional member and can make comment and as she sees fit.
second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thanks. I believe that's unanimous. Okay. So let's see here. We need to give 3 minutes per speaker. I think I got out of order here just a little bit with my enthusiasm to get Lisa on board. So we have to back up here a little bit in our agenda. We have anyone who wants to speak to us, have any comments to make to the committee tonight?
I'll comment. This is Jeff Thomas.
I'm from out of town, up on Hondo 10935. Inherited the place recently from my father along with my siblings. And so I haven't been around for the fire mitigation, and had been talking, at least once I talked to Adrian about it. And so that's why I'm attending.
Well, welcome, Jeff. We're certainly glad that you are attending. Are you attending just out of interest in what the committee is doing, or do you have specific interest that you in the activities of the committee?
Well, I'm just pretty much informative initially, since I really didn't discover the documents or the meeting until yesterday. I didn't look in Facebook for it. And so I guess I could pay a little more attention, but was curious what was going on and, things like that, if I could help in some way. It's a limited window for me this year and that sort of thing. So I don't know how much. I definitely don't want to be any burden, but I just wanted to try to help if I could in any way.
Well, thank you very much. We would love to be able to communicate with you, Jeff. We've started a database and trying to add people and their contact information, and sometimes we've jumped through hoops to try to figure out how to get in touch with private property owners, and it would be nice if we had the ability to contact you from time to time. And
Oh, that'd be fine. Fantastic.
if you could provide your contact information to us, maybe in the we have a ability to do that in the chat. Yeah. If you could just type in your email and address and phone number in the chat, Paul can pick that up, right, Paul?
Yes, we'll do.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeff. Yeah, happy to do that. And you should be receiving a monthly fire mitigation tip this week.
Okay.
So once you provide that email, then you'll hear from the committee at least monthly on fire mitigation monthly tips, and then whatever else we have going on, we'll include you in that as well.
Great. Thank you.
And actually,
All right, thank
Peggy
you.
here. Actually, I'm kind of the same boat. My husband and I own a cabin out there with his sister, so we're kind of trying to figure out some mitigation issues and things like that too. It's not used very often, so we're kind of trying to figure out what we need to be doing too. So,
Well, we'd love to have you on our contact list as well, Amy.
I will send my information in the chat.
Perfect. Perfect. Where is your property?
It's 6530 Spruce Lane
Okay.
Avenue.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of opportunities for mitigation, and we'd love for everybody to learn more about what opportunities there are for financial assistance and programs that are out there. So
That's kind of where we're at. I mean, the sisters have contacted us, and we're just kind of not knowing exactly what we need to do. We're out here in Kansas, so we're a little bit of ways away. So we need to figure out what we need to be doing.
Sure. Well, it'd be very helpful to be able to communicate with you and let you know, obviously, we don't want to spend a lot of time tonight talking with you about your specific needs,
Oh, that's
but
fine.
we certainly would like to get in touch with you and talk to you so that we could explain more about what's available.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for attending, Amy, and it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys too.
Let's see here. Our agenda on our minutes of the last meeting are included in our agenda packet. And does anyone have any comments, additions, deletions for the minutes from our last meeting?
David, I think, am I on mute here? No. I think I forgot to include that you approved the minutes at the last meeting. So I'll put those in.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
David, one thing just administratively, I think the chat settings are such that only you are seeing the chat. Like I am not seeing Amy or Jeff's
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the way it's set.
inputs.
Yeah, let me write those down and then I'll just send it to you, Paul.
Okay.
Let's see here, Amy.
Hi, while you're writing something down, this is Ann.
Hi, Ann.
How do we know if we're on the list? I think I am.
Well, Ann, are you receiving a monthly mitigation tip?
In my email? No, I don't think I do. Is it from you or is it from you, Paul?
Yes. Yes. And let me do a quick search.
I don't think I missed it. You just send it out once a month, though, don't you? So I bet
Right.
I did. Sure.
And then
Sure.
would it be appropriate for Jeff and Amy if they had our phone numbers, if they had any questions, who to contact?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see here. If I send out, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Y'all, so
That way, in
you're
addition to
telling me
any
that
emails that,
nobody can see them but me. Is that right?
That is correct.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But
I tell you what,
I could
I
could give you,
I can send an email to both Jeff and Amy that gives some contact information.
yeah, I'm happy to share any information or answer whatever questions might need answering.
That's really great. You know, it's kind of hard to all get in touch still.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're so far away.
Yeah.
Okay, I have got all of Jeff's contact information and all of Amy's contact information from the chat box.
David, may I ask who's in on the iPhone? There's no name with that.
Let's see. Did somebody call in on an iPhone? Oh, it's Nick, I think.
Oh, no, Nick, no, I see Nick already. There,
Oh, okay, we do have an iPhone that's, yeah.
Yeah.
well, it'd be nice to know who it is, but that's okay.
Okay. And Jeff, you provided me with your Hondo address too.
Right. About everything's there, I think.
Yeah. Amy, just for the records, you said you provided that 6530. 530 Spruce Ave. Okay. I've got Jeff, Amy. Perfect. Got all the information. Okay, moving on to our agenda. So were there any other changes or corrections of anything on the agenda? I'm sorry, on the minutes? If not, then like a motion to accept the minutes of our last meeting on April 17th.
This is Paul. Move to accept April minutes.
You have a second?
Second, John.
Okay, thanks, John. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, none opposed. All right, we've accepted that. Sorry that we that I sort of messed up there in our order, but we are back on schedule here with old business, item number 5, and The first thing is the CUSP grant for the right-of-way remediation project. I have been in contact with Adrian, and he has given us a list of all of the rights of way which he believes are the priorities. He has completed the boundary marking, and at this point, he is going out to bid with contractors to select the contractor to do the work. So do we have any sort of correlation between the release agreements that have been returned and those rights of way that CUSP has identified?
We do, and that was sent out, I thought. I think there's one point that we still need to resolve, and that's a difference between what I hear Adrian communicate and the more strict version that I believe has come from the town. And from Adrian's perspective, he believes that for those residents that fail to sign the release agreement, what it does operationally for him is not allow him to, pass through those yards to get to the right of way. But for those that have signed it, he'll enter the right of way from those homes, which means that he may have a longer path to get to where the operational cutting is taking place, but he can still get to it once he has access to the right of way. It also affects the distance for removing debris, slash, etc. So the town's version is stricter, and it suggests that the right of way adjacent to property owners that haven't signed the release cannot be mitigated. And I think that's a pretty big difference that needs to be resolved moving forward.
Okay. I would agree. That's why I was curious where we stand on getting our release agreements and how those match up to the rights of way that Adrian has identified.
I think we've got about 50% other than number 28, and on number 28, I think we're still at 0% because we have one large property owner that controls that access.
Okay, is that the one that's Colorado Springs Utilities?
It is. I do not believe that is correct. I can look quickly, but but as I look, maybe we can address the other topic.
And we're okay on all the boundary markers and everything. We were good with that.
Well, we have sent out the letter that was required under the release agreement to all of the property owners.
No, I mean, we were clear about what the boundary mark, because I know at one point there was a question about boundary markers and were they accurate? Because I contacted the Historical Society in Manitou, and they have the original Sawyer and Garston maps if we have any questions about boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. CUSP has marked according to their GPS where
Great.
they believe the boundaries are.
Okay, so clarity. We have 2 out of 7 individual properties received for number 28. And the Colorado Spring properties, that's number 25. So we have 0 of 9. So we have 0 of 9 for those properties.
And that's
And-
on right of way 28.
That's number 25. So
Okay.
Colorado Springs Utilities, they own 8 of the 9 for number 25. 1 is in private hands,
Okay.
1 of the 9. And we haven't received that one either.
Okay. Well, I know that Bo was working with Colorado Springs Utilities to get them to sign the release agreement.
Yes.
And I
And
haven't
that's,
heard anything. What?
that sounded administrative from what was that your impression?
That what?
That Colorado Springs Utility had given some sort of, verbal approval that they were going to proceed with getting those releases formally signed and returned?
They were gonna forward it up the chain and get it to the appropriate person to do so. That was my understanding.
Now, for the private owners, should we try one more time to send, or maybe we already have, with a return receipt requested so we know they got it?
Well,
They have to
that,
sign for it?
I don't know that we want to send out the release agreement to every person.
Oh.
Again, we have a prioritized list of rights of way, and we really need to focus on those property owners that adjoin the right of way. So John, what you're saying is on 25, if we could get Colorado Springs Utility and that one property owner, essentially we'd have everybody on right of way 25.
Right, because 8 out of the 9 are Colorado Springs Utilities and 1 is in private hands. Right now, 0 releases have been received.
Okay. And where are we on the rest of the rights of way that were identified by Adrian?
Without going through each number individually, we're basically about 50-50 on each one.
Okay. All right. So any suggestions from anyone on the tack that we go forward with here on trying to get these other releases in?
Well, that was my suggestion, is that to those that we still require, that we do something more formal. So we know that they actually got it. And hopefully at that point, they would be willing to respond.
Well, approximately 10 days ago, we sent out the 30-day notice.
Okay.
Which would have been the second form of notification. And it's also in this, and David, I feel like this is where we could avoid or streamline our process quite a bit, is if we had, correct understanding of how Adrian could proceed. And, again, from Adrian's perspective, once he enters the right of way, he can mitigate. If I understand the town lawyer's perspective, that isn't, we need 100% of the releases. So that needs to be clarified in my mind, and that would set direction for us moving forward.
Okay. But we're gonna need an answer from the town manager as to what they will approve as far as letting the project go forward. before we can take another step.
It sounded like the lawyer was pretty adamant that it had to be 100%.
Yep, and the mayor kept saying, we'll figure out what we're gonna do when we get to that point. As if he had an alternative. I'm not sure what the alternative is. So it sounds like we're at the point where we need for the town manager and the board of trustees to make a decision about what they will require in order to give CUSP the approval to move forward with the project.
When is the next meeting for Board of Trustees?
I'm not sure.
I'd be happy to call tomorrow and tell them we need an answer so we can proceed.
It's June 6th.
June 6th.
Next Tuesday.
Thank you, Ann. It's June
Thanks.
6th.
You know, I had a thought too, if you don't mind me jumping in. I think we all know that the assessor's office doesn't have the right addresses. We had a very shocking discovery that the taxes for one of the old houses that my family owns were sent to an address that Jerry and I didn't live at. And I had to pay $8,000 in back taxes. I mean, it's just weird. You'd think that they would correct those things and they don't. But another thing, you know,
And
the
I'm sorry,
utilities.
I'm sorry, we've passed the public comment section.
Oh, well, can I suggest asking for utilities? If any cabin has utilities, they have a list of who pays the utilities on these cabins. That's just another avenue to think about. And you could write to the chairman of the Colorado Springs Utility Board. I've done that before. And if you write to them, they'll answer you.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you. Is Becky back in? Do we know tomorrow?
I believe she's out all next week.
Oh, she is. Okay.
Yeah.
She'll be back on the 3rd.
She'll be back on the 3rd.
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
And I leave on the 3rd, so.
Okay. Well, Adrian hadn't gotten to the point where he has he's in the process of going out to bid. So he's not ready to start the project yet. I will call the mayor tomorrow and have a discussion with him about where we are and find out what his position may be at this point. That's all I know to do.
Yeah, I think that's our best path forward, is that you escalate it and figure out the course of action and how the committee can assist, given the less of the alternatives in terms of the more restrictive of the alternatives.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When we get a clearer answer from the town, we'll have a better idea of what we need to do. Okay. So John, are you the one who has been keeping records of the return of the signed releases?
Yes, so I've been helping Bo out because it's sort of an administrative time suck. And so I've been, going down there and summarizing what we've been getting back and adding that to the record. So I think I'm only Nick's and one others has come in since I last summarized it.
Okay. Maybe you and I could have a conversation tomorrow and go over this rather than,
Yes, and I can give you more precise percentages, number by number, and 50-50 is sort of the worst case scenario. Some are better, but it's an average for us to work with within the context of this meeting.
Okay. Well, let's have a chat tomorrow then
Okay.
and strategize a little bit about the information we have before I talk to the mayor. All right. Let's move on to item B of our agenda item number 5. And that's the education program and recommendations. John, you have a ton of new information on training, and I just would like for you to give us an overview of where we stand and what new developments we have.
Okay, so another great side conversation. So I'd given the committee the summary of the fire course that I went to, and sitting a couple of people down from me was a woman called Wendy Warner from COCO. She works for 2 organizations. So she works for CUS, and in addition, she works for another organization called COCO, and I'm going to tell you what that stands for. It's the Coalition and Collaboratives initiative within Colorado. And they do many things, but one of them is provide training, and training to a step up from what we would need as a ambassadors program within Green Mountain for our ambassadors. But having had some exchanges with Wendy, she's willing to create a mitigation 101 course, a 1-day mitigation 101 course for us. They're a nonprofit, as I understand, and they would be offering it, at least in spirit, as a free training. They would like some remuneration to help their trainers that travel. Most are fairly close by there. I mean, they're in the state, Denver, et cetera. But anyway, so what is being proposed is a 1-day mitigation 101 training course for 20 to 25 individuals. If Green Mountain can't supply that, then we could reach out to, other mitigation groups that we know, like No Flow Co. or the Pikes Peak. I'm sorry, the homeowners association there that is close to us. But anyway, I believe we could fill those seats from neighboring mitigation groups. 25 seats.
What would be the content of a training program like that?
So it would get, let me look at my notes and see what I suggested. So I suggested an introductory course. I suggested pardon me, I'm reading my notes to her. But looking at basic fire behavior, ignition behavior, mitigation strategies, how to work with homeowners on mitigation, bringing forward simple, doable ideas that make the biggest impact. So it would be very much an intro course for mitigation.
Would you envision this would be something that you said, it'd be for 25 or so people? Would you invite the public at large, or would it be specific individuals that want to become actively involved in the community as trainers, workers, etc.
So I would hope that all of our members for the committee would want to participate.
Right?
We're also, one of your agenda items is block captains. I
Yes.
believe if we were at a point mature enough to get people interested in that program, they would certainly be invited. I would open it up to anyone in the community that has an interest in understanding the basics of fire mitigation, and that would in the future want to help support our committee in a neighbor to neighbor, a neighbor helping neighbor program. So
Yeah.
that would be my goal, is for us to be able to educate a large enough group that we could stand up a neighbor helping neighbor group like we've, been aspiring to do.
Okay.
And for those seats that we couldn't fill, we can invite those groups, that surround us that already have stood up neighbor helping neighbor groups.
Right. Okay.
And the side benefit of that is, are those side conversations about how they do things, how, we can learn from them, how we can build rapport and just expand that community of neighbor helping neighbor.
My understanding is she does not have the program developed yet. So
That is correct. So what they do right now, they've got two programs that they've developed and have been doing for a number of years. One is a very extensive program, again, for mitigation professionals that are out there helping communities like our own stand up mitigation groups. And that's meet once a day, for month on month, like one day a month for multiple months in a row. Then the second program is a 2-day sort of extensive program where the syllabus expects you to come to the class already understanding the basics that this 101 course would cover, the basics of understanding fire behavior, ignition zones, how to defend, defensible spaces, and property mitigation and assessment. So it's for people already at that level, taking them to yet a higher level to help communities develop their programs and how to get them the right resources. So when I explained to her where we were educationally, what level we needed to be at, she was very enthusiastic about saying, wow, we need to develop a mitigation 101 course anyway. This would be a great pilot for us. And that, she's agreed to start working on developing a 101 course.
what's the timing? Does she think that the earliest that she would have it ready?
I haven't heard back from her on that. And my comment to her was, when I look at our civic calendar as well as our own fire mitigation calendar, I can't imagine us being ready before early mid-August. I'm saying that because of Green Box and Bronc Day in the civic calendar, and then our Chipper Day, our activity at Bronc Day, and this right-of-way project and Red Cross, all sort of commanding our capacity, for the next until mid-August as well. So that was my recommendation. The earliest that we could attend or get that organized would probably be about early mid-August. I also felt like that timing may be valuable in anticipation of the September Chipper Day, because that could be a way that we could apply the neighbor helping neighbor program in helping those neighbors that can't stack wood themselves in September. We could get people to assist.
Okay. What action do you need from the committee tonight to keep moving this forward?
So 2 things. I would like to make a proposal for a budget. So what we would need to provide, I told you that this is essentially free. I still believe we need, in an honorarium to be provided to them. But
Mhm.
we are responsible for providing a venue and for, the coffee, the bagels, the lunch for people. So that we would own that expense. So I want to put forward first a recommendation from the committee to BOT that we would like to pursue this training. Second, I'm going to suggest a $1,000 budget to cover rental of Church in the Wildwood, and we can talk about other venues, but I know that venue is both, has the meeting facility capacity that we need, plus the eating capacity, for lunch. So I think it's a good choice, but there are others. And then an honorarium. So would like to suggest $1,000 budget to be approved by BOT as a recommendation for this committee to put forward to them. So those are the actions I would like to put forward. And then if we agree that this is something we want to pursue, I'd like to invite Wendy to our June meeting to talk about that syllabus to make sure that it is indeed going to meet the needs of our audience.
Okay. Do you want the Board of Trustees to approve this prior to our next meeting? So on the June 6th trustees meeting?
The alternative would be getting into July. I suppose if she was available and we were moving towards an early August, we would no later want BOT approval by their meeting in July. So that would be the sort of the latest I think we could push that. But we need DOT, of course, approval because we have no budget of our own. So we need their line authority.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How does this compare to No Floco and the information and education and things that they do?
Well, I haven't seen Wendy's, syllabus, but it would probably be more extensive, at least in duration, because I did attend, their ambassador program, and Carol, you were with me. Was that 3 hours long? I forget how long we were there. But it was somewhere in that neighborhood, 3 hours, which was a great introduction. I mean, that it was definitely good information. Carolyn?
Yeah, did we get there around 9 o'clock or so? Or it seems like it lasted 9 to 1 or 2. And that included the meal that we had.
So Kelly, it would be similar information. Probably no flow codes would be a little less extensive. And so I think you've asked a really important question: is how extensive of a training course is there an appetite for? Because if we're going to invite community members, are they willing to take a full day of training? Maybe it's that might be too much to ask of the average citizen in terms of this volunteering to something they don't know what they're quite volunteering for. So I think that's a great question. I think that's something for us to consider seriously.
So do you want the FMAC to approve moving forward with this project then, John?
I would, but maybe we could have discussion on that point, because I think Kelly's asking a great question. Let's take this proposal off the table. What is the right duration of training for us and community members to stand up a neighbor helping neighbor program? What would you foresee as sort of the ideal duration? And then and maybe there's not an appetite for an 8-hour day of training.
That's a long training day.
It could be. I think it's a good point.
Well, and I just wonder if if, the information from No Floco is 3 hours and it's neighbor helping neighbor and that kind of stuff, we get that moving. Do we still then need this other more extensive training? I think we would only know then.
Okay, and
But is no flow code offering to do training?
they would, I think, when I took, I think when I talked to Don, he's been willing. If we were to, I think that could be a possibility that we could talk to Don about. And again, he does not accept honorariums. I mean, he's made it a point, but there could be other ways that we could assist No Floco in terms of volunteer hours or other things that I know he would accept. I want to bring Lisa into the discussion, because as I mentioned, when we were talking about nominating Lisa, that she's been doing, because there's yet another alternative, and the alternative is these online videos from the Tri-Lakes Ambassador Program. So I believe it's a Methodist church. So the Tri-Lakes Methodist Church has a mission of doing mitigation training, and they were quite active in years past, and there were sit-down classes that you could go to, again, for a few hours, week after week. And they were videotaped or recorded, and Lisa's been looking through those. I've looked through them myself as an alternative. And so maybe, Lisa, you could comment about, what you've seen. And again, it's a lot of hours. I haven't added it up, but it's 8 or 10 hours. So is that reasonable?
Yeah, I would say I think there's 8 modules and they're almost 2 hours each. And they, like you said, John, they don't make the best use of time. As far as they're just great information and really great people. It just maybe takes a little longer to say what information you could get a little bit quicker, but it also feels overwhelming and scary. So I was like, maybe I should move. So I think when you first talked to me about coming to the committee, and you were talking about, picking up sticks and No Floco, and I think keeping it simple is maybe the way to keep people engaged and not feel overwhelmed, because I think it can feel overwhelming. So I guess I feel like a shorter community course would be great. And if you needed more information or an advanced class in the afternoon or something, that would be great. But the No Floco people sound amazing, and these other people are amazing too. It's just a lot of information. Information overload, I would say, if you watched.
No, thank you. This is valuable. So let me ask you this, Lisa, now that you've gone through a number of those modules, if you could envision a 1-day 8-hour course, and yourself as a new person to these concepts, what do you think your reaction would be? Would you feel like that's something that you would even be willing to sit down and do with your community, or would it be just too much to ask?
I think a 4-hour class for all that information would be, or maybe 2 different days at 4 hours each. I think it's a lot to absorb, and it's kind of an emotional topic too. So you kind of like, it's just a lot. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So Paul, do you want to weigh in? I know, like, just in terms of what your gut reaction is, like, what would be your personal preference of how we educate ourselves and the community?
Yeah, John, I think Lisa has a great point that a tiered approach might be better. Getting people a 4-hour introductory module, so they can understand defending their home, and then maybe give people the option of a more advanced model for people who want to be block captains and volunteer. So that way, I think giving people a little bit more choice as to their level of involvement might increase overall involvement and effectiveness.
Okay, so Carolyn and I, when we attended the no flow course, the one thing that we said to each other is that Dawn is really gifted in keeping things light and engaging people and making it fun and interesting. So I'm hearing that 8 hours at this stage of our development is probably too much. So maybe what I do is take this off the table, David, and pursue getting the no flow introductory course here and working with Dawn, seeing what we can do to pay him in kind somehow. How does that sound as a proposal?
I'm in favor of that. I mean, y'all have been so enthusiastic in your involvement so far with No Flow Co. And they are, they're such a force right now in that area in terms of getting a sort of a neighbor to neighbor approach to mitigation that, it just seems like a natural for what we're trying to do.
Okay. All right.
And John, I'm gone from the 3rd to the 12th, but is there anything I could do to help with that?
But that's June, correct?
Yeah, we leave
Okay,
Saturday,
so-
we come back the 12th.
Okay, I think what I want to do is still pursue the early to mid-August for a date. But I will I'll talk to Don and see what we can do about bringing his 3-hour course here. And then, like Carolyn explained, there was 2 hours of just talking and eating and getting to know one another, which is extremely valuable. So I think that's probably a more realistic approach for us to take, but, based on everything I've heard and wanting to, not overwhelm any, our new helpers. So that, David, just so that I know I'm heading in the right direction, should I do this as a motion?
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a motion that the committee pursues education in the early to mid-August timeframe with a 3-hour course sponsored by the No Flow Co group. And that's my proposal. My proposal.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the
Okay, yeah.
beauty of this is that way it comes right after Bronc Days, and so we can be letting people know about that during Bronc Days also.
Yes, yeah, okay. Fabulous. And then we won't have quite the constraints on numbers that Wendy was going to put on me, so we can make it big, we can make it small. I'm less concerned about meeting any kind of quota. Okay, so thank you very much for helping set direction on that item.
Maybe this, I'm curious about what the latest development is in terms of No Flow Co coming in and picking up firewood.
Yes, so I've had a couple of conversations with Don about how we get this started. So again, trying to not abuse it or take advantage of their kindness and generosity. Right now, the first exposure to them is going to be with a property owner at the top of Hondo that has done a lot of tree dropping on her own. She's limbed up the trees. There's a lot of firewood just laying on the ground. It's it's uphill from the road. And so Don has agreed to come here Wednesday to look at sort of what it would take to harvest that. And so that would be a benefit to his members to be able to harvest wood. And he's going to bring a half dozen people, and I'll try to get a half dozen people from Green Mountain Falls organized. The actual date for the harvesting is yet to be determined. That's probably going to be out quite enough weeks to get that organized. But Wednesday, he is planning to come, and we're going to look at the property together and make an assessment of how easy it is to harvest, how many cords are laying on the forest floor, etc.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
This may sound like a really dumb question, but have we ever talked to any of the lumber companies up here, like Casey's Lumber or anybody like that, that could use the lumber, that would be willing to come in and harvest some of these trees, so it would help us with mitigation and help them with wood?
I mean, what you're talking about is the ability to harvest full-length logs and get them out of the forest.
Right.
Which is one of the major impediments that we have, is getting the wood out because of the geography of our area. You cannot use, everything has to be done by hand. You can't get the kind of equipment you need to move logs out of the forest because the terrain won't allow it.
Okay.
David, you may remember when we attended the Teller County Fire Council meeting, was that February? I think it was David Paletti that addressed that topic in a very broad sense, saying that, he is having trouble hitting the forest industry, that side of the forest industry that, wants to harvest trees for its wood use, engaged.
He said he was having a hard time getting them engaged. Is that what you
That's
said, John?
correct. That there was that. So let's just go back in history. It used to be that the Forestry Service was very heavily tied to logging. That's changed over the decades, and within Colorado, what he was saying is that the logging industry is just there's very little interest here locally to harvest wood. That the industry is incredibly small, and there's too many trees for the smallness of the industry we have that are easy to obtain. So that was his own frustration, because of all the mitigation projects he's working on, wanting the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Sounds like there's an active program going right now with No Flow Code to get some of that fire fuel removed from at least one private property.
Yes, we got a prototype. I'll share more as I know more. We work on one piece of property, and we'll go from there. Yes.
Okay. All right. So all of this education, it really hinges on getting a cadre of volunteers that have an interest in working as volunteers and being trained in a way that neighbor can help neighbor, right?
Yes.
So at some point, we've really got to make a hard push at recruiting and developing a list of volunteers.
Correct.
Because when we get ready to have training, we're going to want people already, in the queue that want to get training.
Yes, David, and I my own, the way I see it is it's going to be a slow, organic process, and that we will grow slow like No Flow Co grew slow. That as people hear about these small, this prototype and then the projects to follow with chipper days, as people hear and it, we'll develop interest, and hopefully our numbers, our email distribution list will grow like theirs did.
Well, one person that comes to mind is the person who contacted me a couple of weeks ago asking if we were going to have a chipper day and when was it going to be. And I think he was one of the first 2 people that signed up. And he seemed to be very enthusiastic about, what the town is doing and wanted to participate. He's already working on mitigating his own property. So, I'm wondering, as we run across people like that, should we go ahead and make an overture and say, look, we're trying to develop a group of volunteers. Would you be interested?
Yes. And that's part of what Nick and I have accomplished at the post office. I believe we've been there 4 times, Nick. Is that our number now? At 2-hour stints at each time. Nick's an amazing wingman. He's been fabulous in talking up mitigation and what we can be doing and what we wanted, what we aspire to do. He's been gaining enthusiasm with our neighbors as he talks about a neighbor helping neighbor program. And so that's one avenue, David, to get at what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. I mean, if nothing else, we need to start drawing up a list, a draft of people who we think might be candidates to go to and make a pitch. But in this case, we're going to have a job description. And when we talk to people and say, we need a volunteer for these 2 or 3 things, and here's what that entails, like flock captains or, neighbor to neighbor helping mitigation and that sort of stuff, grants. But, we do need to start developing that list that is at least a list of candidates or potential candidates to get involved on a local level.
Well, and maybe on some of these days at the post office, if we had job descriptions for these things, people might be interested in signing up.
Yes.
Were you going to do another one soon, John?
Nick and I are going to do something this coming week. We haven't set a date, and yes, so something this week, and I can send out a message.
Yeah,
Not
let me
completely.
know, because I hadn't known when you were going to do that. And as long as I'm here,
It's
I'll try to
always
help.
the last minute, but yes, I'll let you know, Kelly.
Okay.
Okay. Well, John, you've been really putting a lot of time into outreach into our community on the fire mitigation opportunities there are, and I really appreciate that. We through you have learned a lot. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate the support, and I think we're at a turning point. I think the committee's at a really interesting turning point where we're starting to get boots on the ground, and it's an awkward transition, but I think it's I'm optimistic, and I'm optimistic that it's going to be successful because we're going to go slow. I think that's actually going to be in our favor if we sort of go slow and organically, and but I am optimistic, and there's certainly a lot of interest. So as Nick and I are at the post office, by far we have support. We have people saying, yes, this is important. We have 2 guests tonight that are here because they say, yes, this is important. So I'm very encouraged, and again, our transition might be a little bit awkward, but I think it's going to be we're proceeding in the right way, slow.
Okay.
And I think that's the way we're going to gain sort of credibility and strength, is by slow organic growth.
Okay. Thank you, John. Is there anything else?
No, not for me.
Okay, could we get a Red Cross program update? Where we stand in terms of our list of people who are interested in participating?
What I heard, the last I heard was they only had 10 people signed up. I'm shocked. I thought we were gonna be overwhelmed with people signing up. And I double checked with the school to make sure that they had gotten the information out, and they did. So,
Okay,
because they were gonna send out with their newsletter the information about this opportunity. Then it was also Pat up at the Courier also got that in the paper. So, I mean, the information is out there. It's just people aren't signing up.
do
It's
we
on
know,
Facebook.
do we have personal knowledge of residents that we know that they could use the help? And it's a matter of just contacting them and say, there's this program, you know, and would you like to participate? I mean, I mentioned one resident in our last meeting that I know personally that lives, is a neighbor to Nick and me, would be an ideal candidate for this. I mean, are there, and I think I mentioned to Lisa at one point to be thinking and if she knows anybody in town that, you know, should be a candidate for this. So, I mean, I think it's going to come down to that sort of level of grassroots contact of residents. And
Well, and that's what I was
Just-
thinking doing next, is going to my neighbors.
yeah. Okay.
Because I don't know who might need it and who might not. Some people have the financial means to take care of things like that. Some don't. I don't know their situations, but it occurred to me that if I'm knocking on doors and asking questions, it's also an opportunity to gather some emails and share some information also.
Well, here's an interesting point. We have on the phone Jeff Thomas, whose property actually adjoins the work that was done by Mile High Youth Corps. And that was one of our priorities, was to try to get property owners who adjoined that work that we did last summer,
Right.
to know about this particular opportunity to participate. Now,
Jeff,
it
do you
could
know
be-
what we're talking about?
I
Jeff,
think so. You mean, yeah, I mean, I had talked to a few people about it, and, you know, possibly you guys wanted, or they needed access to our driveway to get up here and things like that. But I just only recently read about this, in fact, just because of your notes, I think it was. And
the Red Cross program.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I mean, I'd be glad to take help, but we could take care of it ourselves too if somebody else needs it. So, you know.
Well, we can put 25 properties into this program. And we were fortunate to be selected. And I would like for us to have as much participation in this program as possible. And if we've done a great job of getting the word out and we're just not having people sign up, and if you're interested, Jeff, I would sure put your name on the list.
Well, what is there a time frame for that? Because I'm got a
Well,
limited window, but we just
yeah.
got here. Be about 6 weeks. I think we'll be here for this time. At
Well,
least.
yes, they want to do this work in the last 2 weeks of June, and we've got to give them a list of participants by mid-June.
I'd be glad to take the help. I mean, it's mainly about planning around the house mitigation, things like that, firewood and all that same things, or is that?
Well, they'll actually come in and do some mitigation work, limbing up trees, thinning, all those.
Oh,
kind of things.
really?
Yes.
Because I had thought through Rocky, I'm not sorry, thought through Adrian that we were able to qualify for that program. And is
Well,
that,
the CUSP program
Mhm.
is a cost sharing where you pay 60% or 70% and CUSP through a grant pays the rest. So that's the CUSP program. This Red Cross program is they're actually going to come in and at no cost provide fuels mitigation on your property and do an assessment.
know how you say no to that, really. Unless fire mitigation is cut down every tree. So that's kind of what I was trying to, I was going to come out and talk to Adrian and was going to do a walkthrough with us and show us what they thought had to come down and things like reading it now, because I've attended and started to find some things like we've got a bunch of wood we got to move somewhere, and just all this. I think I need to have it looked at so I understand before I have some team come in and attack it, if that makes any sense.
Well, I totally understand that. And I think that's a great approach. Be aware, though, that the CUSP money runs out at the end of this year.
Right.
So if you're going to do something with CUSP, you need to get it done this year.
It'd be pretty similar, though, to, the Red Cross would be similar. It'd just be, I just have to guide around why they're here, or would they do it according to their standards? Is there any, I have input on it and control, or how does that work?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to get signed up for that, you want to make sure that you contact Bo down at the town hall and give him your information. Your
Okay.
name, your address, your phone number, your email, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And he took over for Nate, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give him a call and talk to him about it for sure. If you're afraid nobody's going to use it, I'd be glad to use it, but I'd also be glad to give it to someone who really doesn't have the resources to cover it.
Well, I figured we'd be overwhelmed with names and we were going to have to whittle it down to 25. And so far, that's not the case. But again, I'm going to try this week because I'm leaving on Saturday. I'm going to try this week to get to my neighbors that are here and see who could use the help.
Okay.
Well, Amy, you could participate as well if y'all are wanting to get some mitigation done on your property.
And I sent an email to somebody. I'll have to look at my email. I sent an email to somebody the other day about trying to get on it. I hadn't heard anything back. So I will contact Bo this week and make sure I get our names on there, just because we don't have anybody here full time or anything like that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And I don't know if you have to be there. I don't remember. I think you have to be on site when that happens, but I'm not positive.
But we could work around that. We could probably make sure somebody's there. So.
Well,
Kelly,
it'd be ideal for you, Jeff, because if you're already there in Green Mountain Falls and you're going to be there for 6 or 8 weeks.
No, it sounds fantastic. So yeah, I'll check in and I'll contact Bo and see what we can do.
And I think this is the opinion of our committee. We need to get fire fuels reduced anywhere we can in our town. That's the #1 objective.
Right.
And, if we have willing participants that are willing to be part of that program, I say, let's get it done.
Yeah, and they're not going to come in and clear cut your property. They're going to create a defensible space.
Right.
Yeah.
With respect to your wishes also.
Right. Exactly. I guess you're forcing me to do it.
I would encourage you to talk to Adrian as well, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I will. I'll talk to both of them. In fact, I'll call them tomorrow. I just wanted to try to get it moving since we're here for a limited time and make sure things get done. So I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to communicate with you directly, because I want to, and also with you, Amy, so that we can get a dialogue going.
Okay.
All right, good. Well, I guess what I would say is, we as a committee, if we have knowledge of any person in town that we think is a good candidate for this program, I think we need to contact them within the next few days and say, are you aware of the program? Do you want to participate?
Ellie, what is the date that you need to deliver the names to Corey?
Think she said by the 5th. I need to double check that with Bo.
I was thinking, well, I thought it was a little later than that. I thought we had more time, like closer to mid-June. But yeah, if you could check that, Kelly, it'd be helpful,
Yeah, I will.
because the 5th is literally right around the corner. It's next month.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's next week.
Hey, Nick, could you talk to David Young? Nick, are you there?
Yes, I just had to find the buttons on this thing. All right. Yeah, I can talk to him, get in touch with him maybe tomorrow, morning, afternoon. He's always out and about hiking, so I'll give him a call, have a chat with him.
I think he would be a good candidate for this because,
Yeah, I think so too.
so if you could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to get in touch with him.
Okay, very good. Anything else on the Red Cross program update? Okay, thanks, Kelly. Paul, monthly tip?
Yeah, David, can you enable screen sharing?
Yes. Okay.
So for this monthly tip, I'm proposing that we distribute the GMF fire restrictions table. This is on the town website, but especially since we've got all these activities coming up as summer is upon us, whether it's campfires, grilling, fireworks, chainsaws, that rather than try to address those areas individually, I'd like to send this out as a table and then also include two other things in the message: the block captain or volunteer duty descriptions, as well as the El Paso County Sheriff Department link so that people can check which stage of fire restrictions we're in.
Okay, so this is kind of an informational thing that is consistent with the time of the year that we're in, letting people know where the restrictions are.
Right, yeah, and rather than, because there's a million things you could do for a June fire mitigation tip, whether it's about campfires, about grilling, about different stages of burn bans, but it seems to me that this table is a one-stop shop that gives people a sense both of, first makes them aware that there are stages of fire restrictions, tells them where to go to find out which stage we're in, and tells them what activities that we can do and can't do in each of those stages.
Hey, Paul, are we getting these posted in the post office?
No, I don't think the last one went out. I think the May one did. But yes, we can absolutely put these in the post office as well. I shouldn't say that. We put them outside the post office. I don't know who controls the Kelly, do you know who controls the bulletin board in the post office?
I'm
Is
pretty
it
sure
Wendy
Wendy
or
does.
is it the
I think pretty
town?
sure Wendy does.
Well, my understanding is there is a locked display that is for the town to post things in, and Bo Ayad has the key.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Well, I'll ask Bo to post it then. We've posted them outside the post office in that outdoor bulletin board, but not the interior one.
We should do both.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think this is a great tip of the month. I would move that we approve this for the tip of the month for June.
A second.
All right, Mr. Kelly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Hi.
Thanks, Paul. Anything else?
no, nothing on this. Nothing else on the tip
Okay.
of the month.
Okay, are we back to me now? Can y'all see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, Bronx Day. Last meeting, we had a pretty lengthy discussion about the logistics of where it was going to be, how we were going to have a tent, et cetera. Have we worked any more of those details?
One detail that's important. So the Chamber of Commerce has multiple tents, and I've allocated one of those tents for us. So
Yay!
yay. We have shade.
All right. And we talked about having a site at the church for the pancake breakfast. And we talked about moving the site over to closer to the farm stand after the breakfast was done. Are we doing that, or we're not doing that? Where are we on that?
I think we could do both, honestly, because we could have just a table at the pancake breakfast maybe, and then have the tent over at the park, because not everybody goes to the pancake breakfast.
Okay. All right.
David, I think it's up to us to decide, what is our capacity for how many, hours we want to be at a table talking about fire mitigation. So, and then the secondary, and also the question of where is our time most effectively spent? There's advantages to both. The line for the pancake breakfast is sort of a captive audience, and I don't know that this is necessarily true, but it might be more residents than out of towners. I don't know that. Okay, but I could certainly speculate that direction, and that during the festival, we get people that want to come see us, and they'll spend as long as they want versus having an allocated time as they pass through the line, to get into the door. So I think there's pros and cons. I think we need to answer those two questions about how much time we want to spend at the tent, and also where we feel like our time is best spent.
Well,
But what if we had both sites?
I'm sorry.
What if we had both sites?
I'm not opposed to that. I think I think we have to sign up, or we have to, the town charges a fee to have a booth. Last
They're
year,
gonna waive that.
No, they waived it.
They waived it.
That will be waived, yes.
So I think the key is, do we have committee members who during the day, we can have assigned committee members to both locations?
Well, I don't know that we need both locations all day. The lion's share of the time would be in the park, I would think. But I think during the pancake breakfast, we would need somebody there
Well,
at the church in the Wildwood.
okay. Why don't, for the next, since the next meeting is June, and that will be the meeting before Bronx Day, let's have a firm plan that's ready to be presented as to where we want to be, and who, volunteers for manning the booth, and time and all that kind of stuff. Have a complete schedule so that we as a committee can consider whether or not we are available and can staff this.
Yeah, last year, Dan and I were in the booth most of the day on it, but on and off, but pretty much most of the day. It'd be nice to have a break. But we'll get a list compiled. We're already signed up for it. John, bless you for getting a tent for us. That's great.
You're welcome. So Kelly, maybe what we do is a sign up genius. That will give us sort of the best indicator of, how we can, allocate our resources, and we'll maybe start at the breakfast at 8:30 or something, do an hour and a half there, and then the other, and see how people can sign up and fill the allocated times, and that will answer our question. We'll refine it from there. Does
Yeah.
that sound reasonable?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Okay, so next meeting, we will firm this up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Chipper Day, where are we?
Hey.
So go for it, Paul.
Well, yeah, so Becky was kind enough to share the login information for the Chipper Day website, but left on the two-factor authentication for the email account, and left town. Now that's partly my fault. I should have contacted her earlier, but right now I can't access the sign-up information because she's left on a security measure in the account that keeps me from being able to see it. So I don't have a account, or other than people who've contacted me directly, and there have been maybe 5 or 6 of those folks that I've forwarded into the Gmail account. John recruited some folks at the post office who contacted me, and then I put their information into the account. But right now I still can't see that account.
Okay.
So adding to that, Paul did send out, the note to all those that participated last year to remind, to let them know what this year's dates are.
Yeah.
So we could have a number of repeat customers. And then we've had very good response, Nick and I, at the post office, and very interesting, the number of people that live on the other side of 24 that have interest and are planning to sign up. They're within the fire district, and Chief Murphy has said absolutely they will be serviced as well.
Okay. Very good. Just out of curiosity, I want to ask Jeff and Amy if they've heard about Chipper Days.
No, we have not.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this is a program that we started last year, and we only had one weekend, and it was in September. But Teller County has generously provided their chipper to us for 2 days to carry it around town and chip up the limbs and sticks and whatnot that people may have gathered up, as so long as they bring them down to the road where they're easily accessible. So there's some requirements that you pile up the limbs and tree trunks and all that stuff in a certain way beside the road so it's easily accessible. And on the designated days, and I think it's June the 10th and 11th, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. They will come by your house if you've signed up, and they will chip everything that you've put out by the street. The issue is
Take the
they'll
chips,
blow,
I'm assuming.
they will not take the chips. They'll blow them into a pile. And so you'll either have to have them distributed on your property as, erosion control, or hauled away. That's the only drawback. But there is a sign up. I tell you what, I will send you by email, since I now have your email address. I'll send you both, to Amy and Jeff, the information on Chipper Days. This year we have June 10th and 11th, but we also have September again. So at the end of summer, we'll have another Chipper Day. And this is, again, to get people to have a way to dispose of fire fuels that they have generated as a result of their mitigation activities within the town. So
So the fire mitigation, either one of the CUSP or Red Cross does not include removal.
CUSP, let's see, trying to remember,
They're gonna chip in place as well. They're,
CUSP chips in place.
Um, yes, so the contract I just signed, they want to chip, anything smaller than 8 inches. Anything larger can be turned into firewood and will be left.
And they'll
And they
leave the
don't
firewood.
haul it off. They don't haul it off. Is that right?
Right.
That is correct. That's, yes.
Okay.
I had the chips last year. I participated, Jeff, and I had the chips just blown back up on my property.
Oh, okay.
And then I spread them out in areas where, you know, I had some erosion.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll send you the flyer and y'all can, you know, if you want to sign up, you can.
Great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Will Waste Management have a dumpster this year?
I don't know that we had one last year. Did we?
Well, that was a separate program run by the city.
Okay.
And it did not, correspond with Chipper Day. So that's a city program, Lisa.
Okay.
So
There is
they will do that.
there is a plan, but it hasn't been scheduled yet. We're looking into it.
But you make a good point, Lisa, that people could hold their chips, and then when the city has their program, they could then transfer them to the dumpster. That's a very good point.
You just have to have a way to get them there, right?
Yeah, you'd have to throw them in the back of the car and.
Throw 'em in your
One,
truck.
David, one related note on Chipper Day that this affected me personally. I know it affects a number of folks. There are certain properties where the chipper can't get to either because of turnaround spots or other mobility restrictions. And last year, we ended up having asking people, including me, to carry their slash down to town in the area that's now taken up by those construction trailers at the corner of Belvedere and Green Mountain Falls Road. Now that's obviously not an option now. That space is both taken and pretty contentious to use just in general. And that slash gets blown into the creek, which is not great. So that issue, I'm guessing, is going to come up again. And we may just ask, I don't know if we can ask Chief if there's a plan for people who are in that situation where the chipper just can't get to them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good point. All right. Well, we need to get our publicity out a little earlier for our September program so that we, you know, get the word out better. Because I think and not that it's anybody on this call's fault, but I think we were a little late getting the information distributed, because really by the time we put it out there, we only had 2 weekends, this one and next weekend, for people to do whatever work they were going to do and get it piled up. So maybe if we do some work publicizing throughout the summer, we'll have more participation. Okay, what about the database? Paul, are we continuing to add to that? I mean, we just added 2 more tonight, and I sent you somebody.
Yeah, we have 36 total entries, including 2 new entries, not including the 2 new entries tonight from our neighbors. As soon as you send me that information, I'll add to them and get that out. And I know you're on the call. We do have your email in the database, and we're sending those out to your AOL address. I just sent out a test message during this call to confirm that you're receiving those emails. As a reminder, when we talk about building a list of volunteers, one of the questions on the database is, would you like to volunteer? And we do have 20 folks on that database who have said that, yes, they do want to volunteer. So that may be now, whether they are still interested from the time they filled that out to now, maybe a different story, but that may be something that, if we're looking to recruit volunteers, that's a database where people have indicated an interest.
That's a great place to start.
Paul, would you mind sending me those 20 names? What I'd like to do is, in anticipation of Chipper Days, I've been getting into a couple of backyards. And trying to identify neighbors that need some help because they're elderly or otherwise not capable. We may only get into 4 or 5, but I'd like to sort of start this neighbor helping neighbor program very small with trying to get a half dozen people into a few of those yards. I've got 2 more assessments on Wednesday where there's people's yards I'm gonna look at and see what scale of help they need. So that would help me if I could have those names to solicit from.
All right, John, I just sent it to your account. You should be receiving it by email here in a second.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, thank you for continuing to work on that database. We're going to get there slowly but surely. Okay, so moving now to our agenda item, new business. Actually 6B now is 6A due to our change, and that is the formation of subcommittees. Because of some recent information that we've gotten, if you form a subcommittee that's an official committee, they are subject to the same sunshine laws as our committee is. In other words, if you had a subcommittee that consisted of 4 or 5 people, if those 4 or 5 people got together to go do some work as a neighbor helping neighbor, it would be required to be noticed as an official meeting of that subcommittee. So what we want to do is not form a subcommittee, but just form volunteer groups that are working on specific areas. Everybody understand that? So that so they'll have the freedom to work without everything they do being subject to public notice. Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So to that end, we have talked about block captains are needed. The Neighbor Helping Neighbor program, which is really a mitigation oriented program, and grant writing. And I had taken a stab at writing a sort of a first draft of what would be entailed in each one of these groups, and that's attached in our agenda package. But Paul took that lead and developed a very, very good job description for block captains, which is on the screen now. Far exceeded my efforts, and I think this is just outstanding.
Way to go, Paul.
Yeah, this is a great.
Well, ChatGPT helped a little. I'm not going to lie, but yeah.
Okay. So I think this really needs to become the standard for the other 2 volunteer groups, which would be Neighbor Helping Neighbor and grant writing, because I think we need volunteers in all of these. So I think the block captains, though, is a great starting point, because that's our grassroots to start getting the message out. So we need to start contacting people and say, if you're interested in being a block captain, here's what that entails, and this is the job description. So, any comments from anybody on this? Any thoughts about adoption? As this, we want to adopt this as the block captain job description? I assume by the silence, everybody's reading it.
Yeah.
I've read through this once, David. And it is very well written. Thanks both you and Paul for getting this organized. My hesitancy is it feels like a lot. And when we were talking about training, we sort of backed off from a full day to 3 hours because we didn't want to overwhelm people. As they read through this, I feel like that's a legitimate question is is this going to feel overwhelming to those new to the topic and new to the committee? And how do we sort of write it for how do we begin versus where we ultimately arrive? And I feel like this is the document that looks at where we ultimately arrive. And if we're going to scare people, that's my only comment.
Well, I think that's a valid comment.
And to agree.
This is a big, this is a lot of stuff.
As I was kind of thinking how I would fit in with the committee, I thought, what better way to start something than to possibly be a block captain myself. And I was reading it and I thought, I don't think I could do that. So I think it is a lot. I think it's just more than somebody who doesn't have a full-time job even could do. So yeah, I think that's a great point about being the end point to where we want to be. But for a newbie coming in who wants to do some work, it's a bit overwhelming. Yeah.
Well,
So what if we
this?
had
How about-
block teams instead of block captains?
How about this as a suggestion? Paul took, the first step in preparing a document. Lisa, you and John have both given very specific comments. How about y'all take this document and pare it down to what you think the essentials would be that you would feel good about giving to somebody and say, here's the job of the block captain.
And I guess my question is, does it have to be one person or could it be a team?
Right. I think that's what they did in the videos that I was watching, that they did it as teams and they made it, kind of a social thing also, like this is going to be fun, get to know your neighbors kind of a thing. So yeah. And not taking it, all at once, just taking it bit by bit and gaining trust and all that.
It might be that this is not a great recruiting document because it is a little scary. It might be the standard we train people to in an ideal world.
Yeah.
But maybe, to Lisa and John's point, maybe we don't lead with this because we might scare people rather than engage people.
That's really excellent, Paul. So your question, David, is whether Lisa and I will take on what would be a simplified lead. Maybe that's can sort of blend these ideas. I'm happy, Lisa, to throw some ideas down, and maybe that's
Well, I'm
something.
just thinking, each one of you could redline, John, you could start and redline it and make it the way you think it should be. Send it to Lisa and let her have her input. And between the two of you come up with a document you would propose at the next meeting.
Okay. I could be happy to. So here's
John. Pardon me.
Go ahead, Paul.
John, I sent you the Word version of the document, so it's a bit more editable than the PDF version.
Thank you. When I went to that NFPA course, I shared some of their sound bites with you. They were full of them, and one of them that they had was talking about mitigation in general. They're like, it's not nuclear science or rocket science. It's harder. It's social science. And I think that's really true about the kinds of things that, when we do feel resistance from residents, it is the social science component, misunderstanding of certain concepts. And I guess my approach in terms of the cell versus, the details of what people would do would be more of a social role of, getting to know your neighbor, being willing to share information, which is captured in this document. But, the specificity, as Lisa says, gets into like, wow, I don't know if I could do that, even if I had, if it was with a full-time job. So that would be my approach, would be to get it into a friendly social role as a cell.
Okay. I would like to see a document that John, you and Lisa feel represents your comments tonight.
Okay, happy to do that.
And we can have that in our next meeting. Okay.
Sounds good.
And I think, we want to head down the same path with the other neighbor to neighbor and grants as well. And I included all three in my write-up, if y'all want to review that and provide any input there in our next meeting. But I do think we need to get our volunteer program rolling. And the first step is to define what it is we want people to do. We are at the end of our agenda. Are there any other things that we didn't discuss tonight that everybody feels or somebody feels like we should discuss?
I've got one topic.
Yes.
So, as mentioned, I've started to get into people's backyards. And it's been very revealing, back to the social science component, and about understanding, what it is they want in their own backyard. I mean, they're on the one hand, they're saying, yes, please look in my backyard. I'd like some advice and help on mitigation. And then on the other side, they're also saying,
I like my trees.
Yeah, well, yeah, I love my trees in different ways,
Yeah.
And so my approach is has been very gentle. It's been very supportive, trying to find the common ground. What is the fuels that you do want out, versus me trying to tell them what fuels they should take out. There was a little bit of education, about with one neighbor of saying, those junipers that they thought was not hot burning are indeed hot burning and probably shouldn't be in the corner of the house. But I guess I'm just I'm sharing this experience because I feel like as we grow our capacity for assessment, that we're going to need a philosophy and an approach. And my approach right now is quite gentle and quite understanding about where they are, and also looking for common ground versus preaching. So a little bit of teaching, but no preaching. I don't feel like we have much to learn or much to gain by offending our neighbors and by trying to be too overly prescriptive. So I just wanted to, I don't know, make sure that that we were thinking about a philosophy and an approach again as we move into this boots on the ground, this next stage of how we're going to work as a committee, and as we do more assessments.
Well, I agree with you. I think this is a case of education is required in order for people to be able to decide they need to and want to participate. It's sort of like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water. And I guess that's what we're really saying we want to do, is we want to lead people through education to make the right decision. Yeah, I get what you're saying, John. Good point. Okay, let's see here. Let's recap in just a minute. So tomorrow, John, I'm going to call you and discuss the where we are on the release agreements and relative to the rights of way, and just sort of get our facts straight, and then have a call. I'll call the mayor and try to get a decision from town hall with respect to moving forward with the project. You have direction, John, as it relates to the volunteer mitigation training going forward, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think generally we have some specific action related to the Red Cross program. Just direct outreach to neighbors. We've approved the monthly tip, Bronc Days. We're gonna have a report again from John and Kelly next meeting to finalize that. And hopefully, Paul, you will be able to get into the database on the chipper sign up. And if you can, in the next, whenever you can, if you could just let us know how many people have signed up, or send us the letter or something, or the list.
Yep, will do.
Okay. And then finally, Lisa and John are going to do a red line on the block captain job description for our next meeting. And David is going to contact Jeff and Amy by email tomorrow, sending out the Chipper Day flyer, but also I'd like to find a time to talk to you by phone if we can. And in the case, Jeff, you're in Green Mountain Falls, I'd really love to meet you. I live up on Hondo as well. We will arrive on June 6th. So I'll be in Green Mountain Falls, sort of overlapping you. And if we have a chance to have coffee at the down at the pantry or something, I'd love to do that.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. And Amy, I'll be in contact with you. I don't know when y'all are planning on coming to Green Mountain Falls, but nevertheless, I would like to be in contact with you. All right. Any other comments before we close tonight? Nope. Thanks to all of our guests who came tonight. Lisa, we're happy to have you on the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. You will be referred to the Board of Trustees for their next meeting for approval. And I guess the final thing we need to do is decide on our next meeting date. Let's see if I can pick something that's not a holiday. June the, let's see here, June the 26th is the last Monday of June. Is that date work for everybody?
Yep,
Yes,
works for me.
That works.
Excellent. Okay, we'll set June 26th as our next meeting date for the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee.
And we're
Thanks,
doing
everybody.
6 o'clock from now on.
Yeah, if that works for everybody, I really would like to
Does.
keep it at 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks again, everybody. The meeting is adjourned at I have 8:01 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks, everyone.
all right, thank
Thank
you.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.